Welcome to Unusable. I'm Kyle. I am in Chicago. I've never been to Chicago before, and Gilbert's back in California, so I just thought I would do what Gilbert would do and just kind of walk around and gauge some walkability and transportation and compare it to the Central Valley of California. This is a crosswalk. There are no lights or ways for me to signal. I just start walking, but I guess it's okay. Damn, these buildings are tall. There do appear to be ample public service buses, and I even rode the train from the airport to about half a mile away, and then had to walk half a mile to my hotel. So yeah, public transportation's doing okay. I also saw there's plenty of bikes owned by Lyft and scooters as well. So I'm gonna try one of those out soon. Oh look, here we go. So here's some bikes by Divvy or Lyft. I'm not sure what kind of bike this is. I do think it's a pedal-assisted electric, or at least most of these are. But there's also scooters, and they seem to be built off of the 9bot Max platform, which is great because I'm already familiar with it. It's got a great bell and throttle with the thumb. I don't like the finger trigger scooters, but it just seems like it's a little built up. And then of course it's got the added Lyft Divvy stuff to keep it in its network. But yeah, I don't know where I'm going, so I don't know if I'm going to check one out quite yet. But I'm also very close to Millennium Park, easily walking distance. So I think I would need to kind of route out, figure out on the map where I wanted to go and take one of these for a ride. But yeah, there seem to be plenty of bike lanes. I even saw a class 4 bike lane, protected bike lane, on my walk earlier. I'll try to go find that again at some point. Don't know where this mysterious stairwell leads. It doesn't seem to necessarily be a subway thing, but let's check it out. Oh, we're underground and there's more street. This is weird. I wanted to go to Millennium Park. This seems to be the way, but there is still another level beneath us. Another level with more street. There are 3 streets stacked on top of one another. This street, and the one I was just on. What? That is wild. Who would have thought? Streets on streets. This is a street sandwich. Bikes seem to have their own signals. That's pretty cool. There's not a lot of push buttons to cross the street though. That's weird to me. Oh, look, there's someone on a bike. Hello, bike man. This must be where they did some of the stuff for Batman, The Dark Knight and stuff. Aha, here's a class 4 bike lane. It's not really protected by much, but it is technically protected by these little cones. Uh-oh, this is weird. This just kind of ends, and I hope I don't get run over. And this crumbling infrastructure is also kind of weird, but still more walkable than Fresno. And the weather, summer weather, is not too bad. I was worried it was going to be humid, but it's not bad today. You know, Monday, mid-June, late June. I don't want to be here in the winter when it's frigid, but not too bad for summer so far. It will be hotter on Thursday, so I'll have to check back in then. Oh, a detour. So it seems I'm on the wrong side of the street. Looks like there's an entrance to Millennium Park across the way there, and I don't see, oh, there's a spot I could cross the street up there. But I should have crossed the street while I was still underground to go down this crazy bridge thing. Okay, now I'm walking into Millennium Park, and here's a spot to park some bikes. It's not like an official Divvy parking spot, but it looks like, yeah, you just park your bikes here. I want to ride the bikes, I want to ride the scooters, but I don't want to be that jerk who just leaves a bike or a scooter just on a sidewalk where they're not really supposed to be. Also, I got some battery trash. But that's cardboard and plastic, right? I can recycle that, I think. Ooh, mini golf. This seems like a great place to bring a dog if you cleaned up after it, but no dogs allowed. That's kind of weird, right? That's weird. I'm gonna walk on the grass. Let's do that. Mini golf, a climbing wall, just like a course to ride your skates and scooters around and around. This is amazing. Still not sure how you get on that crazy bridge though. Oh, there it is. I must have walked right by it. Oh no, it's very warm on this metal reflective bridge in the summer. The floor is wood, but yeah, it's kind of toasty. What? That's cool. That's just in the park here? Yeah, they got a whole orchestra set up out here. That's wild. The Fresno Philharmonic would melt outside. Just timpanis exploding and harps just breaking strings. It wouldn't be pretty. So that's a spot where we could rent a bike for a day or multiple days, rather than like the Lyft bikes and have to like find a specific spot to stop and drop it off. I could check out a bike, a helmet, and a lock, and have it all day, ride around, lock it up. Hopefully it doesn't get stolen, and then drop it back off at that location at the end of the day. Pretty good deal. I don't know if I mentioned, I'm here for work, and I've got to get back and do some work stuff. But I'm gonna be here all week exploring around. Lauren's gonna join me halfway through the week, and I'm really excited to just kind of experience a new city. And yeah, I will update more as the week goes along. And maybe at some point we'll check in with Gilbert, see what he's up to. I know he's got a busy week, and I've got a busy week, so that's why this is a very disjointed kind of episode, but really excited to be here. Be back in a minute. We don't have any new shows, but we got Seinfeld.
So, I'm at the gym now. The ride was it's 2.5 miles to get here, and doing this stupid ass vlog, I realized that I didn't even notice the ride. I cannot believe I am doing this. I'm sweating. It's over 100 degrees out still, even though it's 8 o'clock. And it's hot in the gym, which I actually kind of like, but you know, it's meaningless. It's completely feasible. And that's exactly my point. Like, my relationship to this space is completely different. And so if I were to ask Kyle anything, it would be about his relationship to the space. Like, when you go to a new space, it's easy to say, oh, you know, they have this crosswalk and that and this train, and you know, it's nice, but it's really hard to picture yourself living and breathing a space. And I would encourage Kyle to go to, you know, the suburbs, to leave the, you know, greater downtown Chicago and see what it's like connecting to those spaces and walking around a small neighborhood and walking around, you know, some of the, I guess if I were him, I would look it up and see what's out there, but get a sense of what people look like, you know, how much mobility you observe, irrespective of, you know, whether or not they have, you know, city bikes or what have you, or scooters. And I think, you know, Chicago's known, it has decent public transportation, it's pretty solid, it's a world-class city, you know, there's a lot going for it. But Illinois is kind of the wider perspective, and I would take a close look at that. But really just around Chicago, around where you would be, you know, the suburbs, the exurbs, you know, what is that like? Because if it's anything like Fresno, which I doubt, and I've experienced some of that in Chicago. Just like I didn't like Millennium Park very much. And Kyle, it was funny because Kyle was walking across that bridge and he's like, it's hot. I can feel the reflections off the panels. And, that's exactly what happened with the Disney Concert Hall. Gary is famous for using very simple materials, like a lot of stainless steel or what have you, a lot of polished metals and aluminums. And his Disney Concert Hall looks like a crumpled piece of paper.
Dear Mr. Gary, would you please build a concert hall for our town? We may not be the biggest city or the prettiest, but we were the first city in America to abandon the metric system.
Frank Gehry, you're a genius. Behold, the new Springfield Concert Hall.
But it was casting reflections on the buildings across the way and really causing harm because it was like focusing beams of light, at that building as I sweat. And it cracked me up that that's exactly what Kyle was experiencing because they ended up having to cover the panels and, with this netting and, it ended up being a whole ordeal in downtown Los Angeles. And, with Loyola Law School, it's not a very inviting place. I think Gary is not thinking about walkability. Like I said before, he's thinking more about how pretty the design is. And that's actually important. It's important to have inviting spaces, but for example, there's this big bridge that Kyle saw, and the bridge was amazing. It looked amazing from far away, but he had no fucking idea how to get on it. And it took him, it's not an intuitive space. And I think that the best designed public spaces are, I'm not saying they need to be intuitive. It's kind of like how, people used to say Macs were easier than PCs to learn. And there's a reason for that. It's because they had a consistent language. A lot of what you learned from one application to another carried over. The overall appeal of the operating system was far more inviting. And I think that in city design, that's really important. And a lot of people gravitate toward Macs because they have that feel. And then there's also security. And then there's also all these other things and continuity between devices. And I think the best cities take a page out of that book. And I think Chicago fails on that metric, which is not to say it doesn't have, like I said, good things about it. And I think that Fresno is the best example of the worst kind of fucking PC you can buy from Costco. Anyway, have a good one, Kyle.
So it seems like Gilbert wants me to go walk around some more like residential areas in Chicago. And I don't really have any particular plans to go do that. In fact, right now, I'm just walking downtown to a little after party thing at Buddy Guy Legends Bar. But while I'm on this mile walk, I might point out a few things if I notice anything weird in the infrastructure of the city while walking kind of next to Millennium Park. Bikes, but a very difficult road to ride a bike on for sure. Yep, no bike lanes here. Kiku. Oh, there we go. You've been living in Chicago for what?
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years. What, so Gilbert is really into like city stuff. He wanted me to go out into the suburbs, but I don't have time. But you recently moved. Where do you live now?
I live in North Center.
Don't give your actual address.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it on the internet. No, I live in North Center, which is almost suburban. It's still in the city of Chicago, but it's, I live across the street from a school. It's a lot closer to Fresno than you'd think a city should be.
And then, like, obviously you're working from home most of the time, but what is getting around your side of Chicago like?
You can take buses, you can take the train. I take Ubers because I don't like waiting. So, like, you have to wait for trains and buses, and I'm bad at that. But you can really take public transport anywhere. Buses and trains often run 24 hours, so,
Yeah, it's weird because even like in San Francisco, BART stops at like 11:30, depending on what, like if there's a concert or a game.
A lot of them don't. I mean, like most of them don't run 24 hours, but there's a handful that do.
There's enough to get around.
Yeah, for sure. And there's always an Uber.
What about, but that's the thing, like you don't own a car.
I do not own a car.
Yeah, and like in Fresno, like obviously, this is great because you also have the perspective of being from Fresno. Like, it's not, how necessary is it? Is it basically just Uber drivers?
Not at all. Like, because you can, Uber, taxis, public transport, like, you really don't need a car there.
Do you know anyone who owns a car?
I think I know one person who owns a car.
Wow.
And, it's nice that she has it.
It comes in clutch.
Sometimes, like, but I think I've only ever thought to myself maybe once or twice that it's like,
I wish I had a car.
I know 2 people who own a car, but at the same time, it's still out of all my friends.
You also recently moved. How did you move from one place to another without a car,
Well,
just only having one friend?
We hired a moving company, first and foremost.
Yeah.
They had a car.
Yeah.
That was the most important part, and then we just Ubered to the new place. I mean, it wasn't...
Wild.
Yeah.
What is the walkability like in your neighborhood?
My neighborhood isn't super walkable, but I used to live downtown, and there was a grocery store like not even a block from my house. There were multiple drugstores. Where I lived in Gold Coast, I lived off State Street, so you could really walk anywhere.
Wild. What about like alternative transportation? We got a scooter person over here. What's that like? Because obviously downtown there's the bikes and the scooters you can just pick up and ride.
I don't see a lot of scooters out here. Like in Santa Barbara, there were scooters everywhere. Here, though, there are Divvies, and Divvy is now owned by Lyft. And I just read a whole article about like the difference between the city owning them and Lyft owning them, and I didn't really understand it. But there are tons of bikes out here. And a lot of people own bikes.
Yeah, it's been great seeing all the bikes. We've been trying to ride our bikes more and bought an electric scooter. It's actually like the consumer version of these scooters that Divvy and Lyft use, which is really funny.
They're fun. I like them. I was disappointed there weren't more like limes or birds out here because I had a lot of fun in Santa Barbara on those.
Yeah. But yes, the 9-bot max scooters that these Divvy ones are based off of are very fun. And it seems like they've got them locked to like the middle speed. There's a low, medium, and high like speed.
Yeah, you can only go so fast on them.
Yeah, you're not totally zipping through. But yeah, it's been fun zipping around downtown Fresno on my lunch break to go get food.
It's probably safer in downtown Fresno than it would be out here, though. I can see why they wouldn't want.
There's a scooter gang, for sure.
Yeah, downtown Fresno, there still aren't like rentable scooters, but I've gotten some of the CMAC folks to pick up a scooter, and then Bitwise has bought a fleet of scooters to go to their 3 locations, in between their 3 locations. And Fulton Street is pretty chill. But yeah, I wish there were more scooters and alternative transportation options.
I would say out here, though, you don't really need them just because, again, there's the trains and the buses run pretty regularly, and like pre-COVID, you could pretty reliably get a taxi as well.
Wild.
I've noticed that's dropped, but like when I used to work out here, I used to take I went home sick one day and I just popped outside and I flagged down a taxi because they are always there, and I was home in like 10 minutes.
Wild. Yeah. What other tips would you give to someone if they were thinking of moving to Chicago?
I hate to say it, but you don't need tips. It's pretty self-explanatory. The buses and the trains are, once you figure them out, not hard to figure out.
The apps seem to work okay.
The apps work pretty well. The only thing that I would watch out for is that Lyfts can be expensive. Lyfts and Ubers can be expensive out here, but
are there a lot of like surcharge times, extra high charge times?
I wouldn't say anything that's
Rush?
like not
What is it called?
obvious.
I don't know.
Like whenever it's snowing, it's more expensive. Friday, Saturday night, it gets a little more expensive, but it was only $20 to get down here.
Hey, all right. Well, thanks, Kiku.
Yeah.
Getting the perspective of a Fresno transplant in Chicago.
Which there are shockingly a lot of out here.
There are?
Yeah.
What? I just know you and Leah.
Well, because like me and Leah, but Leah has a whole community of like ex-Fresnons out here.
Oh, funny. And Leah's in New York this week. She couldn't come hang out with us. Boo.
I mean,
Boo, Leah.
like, if she's gonna be anywhere else.
That might as well be New York. Okay, thank you. Hopefully our pizza's ready soon. Have we been waiting? Hungry now. So that's it for this episode of Unusable. It was kind of disjointed. That's just kind of how Gilbert and my schedules shook out. But I hope that walking around Chicago with me and getting insight from Kiku, someone who has moved from the Central Valley to Chicago, has been helpful. We'll see you in a fortnight. I think we've got a special announcement. We'll see. I'll double check with Gilbert. But that's it for this episode. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Peace.